Good evening. It's honor and a privilege to be here. And I hope I can convey some words of thoughts for you that will help you. One of the things I've wanted to talk a little bit is about leadership, Christian leadership. As we know, there are leaders, great leaders across the country, across the world. Mohandas Gandhi, it was easy to stand in a crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. General Douglas MacArthur, I shall return. From the Philippines to his ride to New Caledonia, 600 miles by motorboat, by PT boat, took that journey, and he did return. President John F. Kennedy, he has a little bit different thoughts at that time, back in the 60s. Today, it's more of tuition forgiveness, subsidies. The laws will be changed by what the population and what the generation wants to be. But in his days, it's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. What I see is a lot of good things. Of course, we know about our spiritual leaders, right? Martin Luther King, I have a dream. But he has also said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Common characteristics of these leaders are that they were able to mobilize people, get them into a belief, put them into a group where they can make better for themselves, their country, their military, and the religion that we have. Everything rises and falls on leadership. It's by Johnny Maxwell. He was a former preacher, now a leadership type of person. One of the things I knew, I used to work for the Navy. I used to work as an engineer at Pearl Harbor. I've been there for about 45 years, had a good career, very blessed, very thankful. But of the last 15 to 20 years, a little bit of a struggle because we have a lot of engineers, male and female, high age group, younger group, different experiences and background, education, and some with the minimal to get in to the engineering corps. That's where I struggled. I struggled with leadership. So leadership is something it's a journey. It's about people and how we influence people. It's about how we help people. And especially to leadership is problem solving. Leadership, what it's not a title, it's not a position. It's definitely not a manager in an organization chart. And it's definitely not about power, strength, or rank. How are we on our leadership journey with Christ? Someone may think that one of the alternatives are, hey, it's good, no problem. We got our boxes checked. It's okay getting things done. Yeah, we struggle. Every day we struggle. But sometimes we need help or we need improvements. Or I just haven't thought about it. I just don't know. Don't know where I'm at. Leadership, Christian leadership starts in one place, the heart. It's a journey. Being a Christian leadership, we must be prepared. In 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 8, Paul's third visit to the Corinth, challenged the Corinthians. Only way that's through the good way is through Christ. Christians at that time were faulting and fading from their faith. For we cannot do anything against the truth, but only the truth. So the truth comes down to various things, right? To be prepared, we have to have knowledge. To have knowledge, we have to be educated. And I've talked to engineers over these years. You're engineers, you are self-learned. You don't need people to teach you. You need people to guide you. But provide that initiative, become self-learned. So with our journey, as being prepared, we must be pure in the heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Gold comes in different standards, right? Gold comes in a standard of 12 carats, 14 carats, 22 carats, 24 carats. What happens when we get to the 24 carat? It's the purest form. It's the purest form with all other elements strained out of it. Gold, I mean not gold, but diamonds. Diamonds are classified and graded. As a diamond maker looks through his diamonds, he can tell the difference. The impurities are gone. The things that are tied to inefficiencies or things that doesn't have value are not there in the purest diamond form. Also, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, Paul's letter to the Ephesians encouraged the family to stand firm against the evils of this world. We have temptations, we have things in our daily lives that bring us away from the Lord. So Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11, put on the full armor of God, for you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So as we look at the shield, we see the helmet as of salvation. We see the shield of faith. We see the belt of truth. We see the sandals of the people of peace, gospel of peace, the sword, the spirit, and the breastplate, the righteousness. So knowing this, practicing this, keeps us stronger and protected from the sides of temptation. As Christian leaders in Christian leadership, we show a low, dignified status. We prepare in comparison to others, we serve others. We put personal benefits, our personal benefits, behind others. We look at the status of importance where we have spiritual modesty. We look at things where our brethren are first at hand. My dad, who was he was a car guy. He was a person that loves cars. And when I came back from working from New York back in the 70s, I came back with a full bunch of experience that I could never have dreamed of. Came back, and he and I had this passion, working to cars together. When we worked on cars together, there was one particular instance where I recall. Hood was up, I was in there, I was tweaking, adjusting, bang, bang. Oh, skin my knuckles. Everybody's had skin knuckles working in cars? The tool drops to the ground. He goes, Dennis, hey, let me tell you something. He goes, and I tell him, hey, Dad, hang on, I got it. Right? That's a favorite words sons usually say to the dads. I got it. So what happens? Again, click, 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 bang, bells down. This cycle goes about 2-3 times. And when I finally look at it, blood is coming out of my knuckles, okay? It was starting to bleed rapidly. So finally I pick up my tool again. I said, hey, Dad, you were gonna tell me something? And he said, Dennis, I had that same issue on my car, and there's a special tool for this. So next thing he said, you want to borrow it? So here am I, okay, getting a double slug of humility. One in the left cheek, one in the right cheek. What did I do? All I could say was, thank you. But it's not so much that particularly. What I learned from that is, one, he was an experienced mechanic. He did things before. Our garage was completely apart with car parts. And over the weekend, it's back together. The car is back together. So I never really thought about that particular incident. But afterwards, said, my pride had gotten in my way. College graduate, worked for General Electric, thought I knew everything, didn't work out as planned. So, as Paul letter to the Philippines from a Roman prison, he provides encouragement of having a humble behavior like Christ. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above ourselves. I should have valued my dad's opinion. Experience. Also, Peter, in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6, the evils of the world have been calling on us and hounding us. He tells us, humble yourselves, therefore under God's mighty hand, he may lift you up in due time. Humility again. Leaders eat last. I've heard that. I've heard that from different people. I've heard it from Simon Sinek, who is a speaker on leadership. I heard it from Admiral William McRaven, four-star admiral, excuse me, who oversaw the capture or the assassination of Osama bin Laden. They say leaders eat last. Why is that? Why does leaders eat last? Because one, they take care of their people first. They're humble in the sense that they provide everything before they take. Now, this is a communication interface dialogue right now. When we have monthly luncheon, who is the last person that eats last? Everybody know this? Anybody? Okay. In my humble opinion, I see Ren always last, or close to last. So whenever I'm here at our monthly luncheon, I watch a little bit. Yep, sure enough, he's always last. So humility is one of the virtues that we need. Courage. Need to have that internal fortitude in doing what's right in the presence of others, but also in the presence of God, which is the moral courage. And courage is always in the face of danger and adversity. It's always in the face of things that make us uncomfortable, where our heart beats, where we don't know what to do, where we're grasping for something. Let me share a lesson with you on story of David and Goliath from an engineering point of view. In engineering, we talk risk assessments. Risk assessments is doing a projection. We do projection on a situation and we look at things and we kind of analyze a little bit in detail about what it is. Two main things that are happen with a risk assessment. One is the impact. What's the consequence to this? A second one is frequency, or how often can it happen? So we look at that. If I were to look at David and Goliath, this is what I see. David, the size, he's a boy. Has limited experience. Yes, he's a harp player. Yes, he shepherds sheep. But I'm thinking he's somewhere like about 120 pounds. Goliath, bred from the beginning, right? His goal in life was to be a warrior. His goal in life was to be in battles. He probably understood pain more than anybody else. If I were to look at him, these two characters, David, eminent failure. Not going to make it. It's going to be one time. It's going to be an impact. Skills. Skills, according to David, he would have one. Herding skills, musical skills. On the other hand, Goliath, he was trained. It was bred like in him. He was probably in many battles before he faced David. David, I look at him again, eminent failure. Frequency of this, it's going to be just one time. Other things that I look at, equipment. Equipment. David was offered the equipment of Saul. But what happened? It doesn't fit right. It's not working right. I never used it before. With Goliath, the best bronze that would make, the best helmet, best breastplates, best javelins. And you know what? At that time, if you look at it by weight, you know, they call it shekels. Equivalent to maybe the armor he had was 120 pounds. About. The spear he had, the javelin he had was about 15 pounds. So when I look at both of them, David, I'm sorry, it's eminent failure again. And this time it's going to be one time. And also with doing some kind of risk assessment, we look at options. We look at things that are different that maybe we can have success out of this. But what had happened? 40 days. The Philistines were beating the drum. They were tainting. They were defying the God of Israel, right? And what seemed like was nobody stepped forward until David, a small shepherd boy, decided to come forward. The Philistine, on the other hand, there were a lot of options. There were warriors that were ready to go to war. They were there in person, ready to cross that line. But like anything else, David, hate to say this to you, but it's eminent failure again. The frequency, impact that you got, total annihilation. But risk and assessments now, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it comes from observation, it comes from data, it comes from objective quality evidence. We know. But that's not what happened. What had happened? Courage. Courage was driven by what? Faith. Faith was driven by the Lord. So with faith alone, trust alone. In 1 Samuel 17, verse 45, David says of Philip, you come against me with your sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Almighty Lord, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you defied. So what happened? A total human assessment doesn't work in this case. Another thing about courage, we know about Joshua. Joshua took 40 years walking walking with the Israelites to the promised land. 40 years, I took a look at the map and looked and said, hey, you know what? I estimated by walking, I read up on this, 11 days, 13 days. So why did it take too long? Well, the engineering mind jumped into me again and said, well, let's look at it from a different point of view. Let's look at it from the point of view of not duration or time. Let's look at it in terms of how long, distance-wise. I walk my dogs couple miles a day. It's takes me about an hour or so, and that's my workout. If I were to walk them, let's say, for 5-6 hours a day, that's about 10 miles. Let's say we walk 10 miles a day with weekends off. How many miles do you think we'd be walking in 40 years? Well, I did a simple math and what came out to about over 100,000 miles. So the wandering was in this small space of Israel, right? 100,000 miles. And I just use it as an assumption to prove the quantity or the distance that Joshua had to walk. Not only that, he walked with people complaining. He walked with physical hardship. I walk probably for 10 days or so, and for 10 miles a day, and I'll probably say, no more. That's not enough. That's not for me. So what had happened? Well, again, faith draws courage. Joshua had that inner spiritual belief that God will provide. Can you imagine walking for over 100,000 miles for you and not knowing where you're going? And yet the plot of Israel is that small? So in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13, be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. Also in Joshua chapter 1, be strong, chapter 1, verse 6, be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to the ancestors to give them. So Joshua, he had what it takes. Total faith, total courage. Gratitude. Gratitude gives us a warm, fuzzy, a good feeling, a positive feeling. It's abundance of goodness that comes, and a dopamine picks up, right? We feel good about things. Appreciation for the simple things, sometimes that's taken for granted. But one thing, gratitude is kindness. So when I look at simple things in the world as a luxury, I see one, we have fresh air to breathe. We have water out of the faucets. We have friends. We have the church too that we can rely on. We have people around us. We have a good environment. Plus we have freedom. Other places in the world, not so lucky. Gaza too. If we look at what's happening in Gaza, it is a terrifying experience. A lot of this basic necessities, the water, the food, is a luxury. It becomes a luxury. It's a high commodity item. So in Philippians chapter 1, verse 3, I thank my God every time I remember you. So it's being grateful. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 11, I'm not saying this because I am in need for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. So just in plain thank you, it's a, it's something which I encountered many times. We have meetings, engineering meetings. We get through a lot of discussions, and one of the points that comes out is our summary that went to sea came back successful, mission accomplished. Our trials were good. One of the points that comes out is we'd like to thank our people. We like to thank our people for the outcome of this. We have praises, Norman praises for a lot of people because they did a good job. Anybody that's been on trials, it's 10 days plus underwater. For those trials that weren't successful, came back and said, we had all these problems, we had this, and you know what, Mr. Young, we have to make a decision whether we go back out again to redo a lot of the work. But the right way for gratitude is we thank our people for the efforts, the sacrifice, the things that they've done over the last days or so. So in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 to 18, rejoice always, praise continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will that you in Christ Jesus. So whatever is provided to us must have that gratitude, I've told my wife many times, be thankful every day. Be thankful that we wake up in the morning. One of the things that we need to do as church leaders, or rather, Christian leaders, is to teach and learn. Teaching is a meaningful experience. It's knowledge that we transfer. It's a dialogue. We talk together. We listen and learn. From my experience going back to work after I retired was the group of people that I meet is younger age, little bit of a generation gap, right? We have the Y generation, Z generation with different behavior, different characters. From myself, I am a boomer. So when we talk to them, I'm finding out different things that are not characteristic to what I know. But what I am doing, I am trying to understand them. I'm trying to learn from them when they also learn from me. So in 2 Timothy chapter 2, 24, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone and be able to teach, not resentful. Timothy 2, chapter 3, verse 6, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. So we must have that communication, that pleasantries of learning, understanding each other. Teaching is not a one-way street that I found out. Teaching is also learning. When you look at sacrifice, that's a very sensitive area. Sacrifice in the sense that there is suffering that's involved with sacrifice. This past Monday, I attended the Memorial Day sub-base ceremony at Pachi Park. It's on Pearl Harbor Naval Base. It's a park which is dedicated to submarines that we lost at sea during World War II. And I find out that is very sacred. The atmosphere is honored. The people that do show up have an attachment to there. Just so for some information, during the Second World War, 52 submarines were lost. 3,500 of our military sailors were lost. 23% of our submarine workforce were lost at sea. What I did see, I saw the flag. I saw the flag being brought in to be honored. I've seen, actually, there was one lady that I saw that she was a spouse of one of the military sailors that were lost at sea. Very elderly lady. Well, she came there to what? Honor, provide respect. What else did I see? I see the flags. I see the 50th state, the 50 flags of our country. And what I see is the draping of every submarine lost at sea. So we want to talk about sacrifice. That is major sacrifice. Why the sacrifice? Because every one of them had a mission. Everybody had something that says, I must step forward. So in Romans chapter 5, verse 3 to 4, not only, but also glory in suffering, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. What I get from this is a reflection. Hope, when I walk away from a memorial, I feel obligation. I feel devotion. I feel a little bit more of, I need to do better. So in 1 Peter chapter 2:21, to this you were called because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. So when we look at what Christ had done, Jesus has done, that was ultimate sacrifice, right? Reasons may be different, but the pain, the sorrows are still the same. Truth is factual. Truth connotates faith, honor, reality, and actual events. Things that happen, things that we know is a fact. Truth of the inner circle, when I used to work, being employed with the Navy, I had meetings 6:15 every morning. 6:15 every morning, had 3 people present. The engineering department head, my testing and work control manager, and myself, the chief engineer. And we talked through everything of things of yesterday, last night, and the next day. To get the right results, we had to be truthful. We had to understand, I needed my department head for this. I needed my testing work control manager for this. So I needed to provide things, whether it was bad news or good news. So it helps with us to learn to be truthful, because I really believe in this saying with John 8:32. When you know the truth will set you free. You ever been in a situation, when people try to tell the truth, they're squirming this way, squirming that way. They're telling generalization things that's out there. But if you tell the straight truth, you don't have that burden of trying to explain yourself. So in John 14, verse 16, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father through me. I believe we can say that truth in the eyes of Jesus is doing and being in God's will, consistent in an obedient manner. Servanthood is that we serve someone, we follow someone, we have a master. We have talents that we have that we can help and serve with. We've talked about it, right? Some of us sing, some of us may preach, some of us greet greet our visitors. We all have talent. As Mark in chapter 10, verse 44, and whoever wants to be first must be slave to all. Each of in 1 Peter 4, chapter 4, verse 10, each of you should use whatever gift you have received and served others as faithful stewards of God, grace in various forms. So it's the gifts. How do we use gifts, our gifts to serve? How do we use our talents to serve? An important part about any mission, about every type of leadership is a mission. You have a purpose. You have a purpose, whether it's a group or individual, you have a purpose, you have an assignment. You have a direction. And another thing too, it's an important occurrence to do. Being with the Navy, I found out the Navy has certain things. They have a mission too. In Congress, the statutes titled 10, subtitled Charlie, chapter 871. Congress stands up the United States Navy for freedom of navigation, protecting the lives of U.S. citizens on the seas. Chapter 871 is the civilian part, expectations of civilians, which I was part of. The code of honor, courage, commitment is something that I need to definitely follow. So what is our mission when it's personal mission with Christ? Our personal mission with Christ should be one and the same. We have the requirements or the doctrine that we have is the Bible. It provides everything that's needed. In Mark 16, chapter 16, verse 15, he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel of all creation. In Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 to 19, then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and all earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son of the Holy Spirit. So our mission should be the same mission as Christ Jesus. So Jesus Christ is a servant leader, definitely. He provided all the characteristics so which we can also be leaders of. He provided the humility. He provided the courage. He provides us the ability to teach and learn, and the others that I have talked about. One of the things that I see when I went through this is the fourth bullet. We are all capable of being servant leaders. It's a choice. That's another thing about leadership. Leadership is a choice. So in Mark chapter 10, verse 43 to 45, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be the slave. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. So are we the type of Christian leaders that we want to be? Is this a choice that we definitely want to make? Leadership is, I find out personally, leadership is giving. Your fellow man is first. The goal, the objective for Jesus Christ and the creation is salvation. That's the mission that we want to be able to see. The character of Christian leadership. Talked about the heart. The heart is everything, right? It's our livelihood. It's our life. It pumps. It gives us the emotions. It gives us the physical, gives us the ability to live. Humility. Humbleness. A short story about my bruised knuckles. Courage. David Goliath. Even from today's standards or today's assessment, that doesn't make sense, but it happened. The faith drove courage. Gratitude, definitely. Learn and teach. Learn and teach it at your pace. One thing I wanted to learn was, and the reason why I'm doing this is, I want to understand what Lima feels like standing up in front of everyone, talking, preparing for this. I find it was a lot of work. Honestly, it is a lot of work. But who's the benefit from this? I hope everyone here benefits from something, but I think I benefit the most because I prepared it. I understand it. And you know what? Some of the stories I have told, I lived through it. So I feel it. So it's the truth. Be a servant. And also the mission of salvation. That's with us. And a servant leader. Like any kind of briefing, you know, I sit at a table with engineers and I'm watching and this and that. And I know some taking notes, some not taking notes. And finally, you know, a couple of weeks later, I say, hey, we talked about this before. So I finally gave up and I said, you know what? We're going to have actions. If we walk away from the meeting without doing anything, then this meeting is not profitable. So actions for a Christian leader: have the right character, have the right knowledge, the Bible, the doctrine that's there, right? I talk about the Navy doctrine. There is a doctrine with the Lord. Commit to the word, the truth. Become a servant. Become the humble person. Be available. And when I was working, I always would say, there is issue, call me. Because being available tells me I'm caring for you. And lastly, I'm going to teach and learn. Okay? We all can teach. We can all learn from my own. I've learned from new engineers that started. Okay? I know we have a different culture and we need to bridge that. But learn, dialogue, and grow our church. So this evening, I thank you for this opportunity to say in a few words. It was a little difficult. You know, I had to rehearse a few times, but it was my pleasure being here. Thank you.